Welcome to another episode of Catch This. My name is Trudy Ray. In 1988, the World Health Organization, Rotary International, UNICEF, and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention passed the initiative to eradicate polio globally by the year 2000. We are now 23 years past this deadline, and it is becoming increasingly clear that this goal will likely never be achieved. In this video, I will explain why. You may think, wait a minute, wasn't polio eradicated a long time ago? It may seem that way because it hasn't been on our radar as much here in the US, because of the relatively high rate of vaccination. But in fact, smallpox remains the only major infectious disease of humans that has been eradicated so far. According to the epidemiologist Donald Henderson, who played a key role in the process, 3 essential criteria need to be met to eradicate a pathogen. It may only replicate in one host, for example, humans only. Vaccination must induce lifelong immunity, and asymptomatic infections should not contribute to the spread of the pathogen. The causative agent of smallpox, which is variola virus, fit all 3 of these criteria. An additional feature that simplified the eradication of smallpox was the fact that there is only one serotype of variola virus. In contrast, there are 3 serotypes of poliovirus, and immunity induced by infection or immunization with one serotype does not protect against the other 2. Poliovirus is transmitted through contact with stool or respiratory droplets from an infected person. A prime opportunity for transmission occurs during the consumption of food prepared by someone who did not properly wash their hands after using the toilet. After the viral particles are ingested, they replicate in the intestines and new viral particles are shed in the feces, leading to a possible new cycle of transmission. This is also referred to as fecal-oral transmission. Although most infected people never develop symptoms, about 1% of infections lead to paralysis, which can affect mobility at the very least and can be fatal if it progresses to the respiratory muscles. You may remember the iron lungs. There are 2 types of polio vaccines currently in use across the globe, both of which historically protected against all 3 serotypes. Inactivated polio vaccine, also known as IPV, developed by Jonas Salk in 1953, is an inactivated virus that is injected into the muscle. This vaccine induces only systemic immunity, but no gut immunity, because it never reaches the intestines. This means that despite being well protected against disease and paralysis, an IPV recipient who is naturally infected with wild-type poliovirus may replicate the virus in the intestines and pass it in their feces. This phenomenon is well documented in countries that use IPV and monitor their wastewater for poliovirus. And because IPV is the only polio vaccine currently used in the US, it is very likely that our sewers and environment are also teeming with poliovirus. Oral polio vaccine, or OPV, developed by Albert Sabin in 1961, is an attenuated virus that is administered by ingestion. Once the vaccine particles reach the intestines, they replicate and induce production of local antibodies that ultimately eliminate the virus. However, OPV also concurrently enters the bloodstream, so the vaccine induces production of antibodies in the blood as well, and thus leads to both gut and systemic immunity. OPV is used primarily in developing countries because it is cost-effective, easy to administer, and does not require cold storage. Although OPV appears to be the better vaccine based on this information, its ability to replicate leads to some major complications. After OPV viruses have undergone a few cycles of replication, the attenuating mutations in the viral genome that prevent disease revert to their original wild-type sequence, and the viruses reattain the ability to cause paralysis. The presence of these vaccine-derived viruses in the environment is particularly problematic in under-immunized populations, where the viruses circulate and cause outbreaks that are identical to those caused by wild-type poliovirus. In rare cases, the attenuated vaccine virus itself may even cause paralysis in the vaccine recipient, although this is very rare. Because most vaccine-derived outbreaks have been caused by OPV serotype 2, and because the wild-type version of this virus was eradicated in 2015, serotype 2 was removed from all OPV formulations in 2016. Despite this intervention, vaccine-derived type 2 polioviruses have continued to circulate extensively and have caused numerous cases of paralytic polio. One such incident happened right here in the US when, in July 2022, an unvaccinated, previously healthy young adult developed poliovirus-induced paralysis. In an effort to address the reversion problem, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation recently funded a new type 2 OPV, referred to as NOPV2, that contains 3 modifications which presumably reduce its ability to revert in the intestine. Data collected after administration of 600 million doses of NOPV2 over the course of 2 years suggests that although this vaccine reverts substantially less often than Sabin's original vaccine, it is not perfect, and it has led to several revertants that cause paralysis. There appears to be no practical way to eradicate poliovirus completely. In fact, poliovirus only meets one of Henderson's 3 criteria. That is, to our knowledge, the 3 serotypes only infect humans. In all likelihood, not meeting the other 2 criteria will interfere with eradication. Although many people assume that the immunity induced by poliovirus infection and/or vaccination is lifelong, it's actually not clear whether that is the case. And most importantly, the vast majority of poliovirus infections do not produce symptoms, leading to extensive undetected spread. The most logical way forward is to continue routine childhood vaccinations against poliovirus indefinitely, and preferably with IPV. That's it for today's episode. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. My name is Trudy Ray, and I'll see you next time on Catch This.